Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you're new. So this is part 3 of the half bath makeover. If you missed the other videos, I'll go ahead and link those down below in the description box or in the card up above on the video. So I wanted to learn how to do a wall in Batten, as it is a simple and inexpensive way to kind of bring character to any space. We already had a miter saw, so luckily for me, all I had to do was learn how to use it, and husband Michael is right there to teach me. I wanted to cut the bottoms of my batten at a 45-degree angle so that I can have it as a seamless look to my baseboards, as I was not trying to remove them. After my first cut, I became more comfortable and I was able to measure and cut the remaining pieces. The walls were already freshly painted and I had already sanded and spackled any holes, so all I needed to do was measure and figure out where I wanted to place each piece. I'm not very good with measuring, so I went to Google to do some research and try to figure out how to measure a space when you're trying to do a wall in Batten, and they provided me with a website, so I'll be sure to link that down below for you guys in the description box. So for the vertical lines, I used a 1x3 board. The horizontal lines are 1x4, and then I used a 1x2 board as my top batten to create a little picture ledge. So my 1x3 boards, I think I cut them at 35 inches, and then all together when everything was placed on the wall, my new height became 40 inches. And looking back at it now, I definitely should have went higher. For installation, I would add one board to my left, one board to my right, and then I would go to the middle of the wall at that end, and then I would fill in the remaining of the wall with the rest of the boards, if that makes sense. I did use a brad nailer to place them on the wall because I did not want to use nail glue. Didn't want to really cause any serious damage to the walls, just in case I need to move them or whatever the case may be. And I think the space between each board is about 5.5 inches. There are a few little things I had to move just a little bit here and there to kind of make space for my water line. And I realized none of these walls are straight, so I had to do a lot of measuring throughout, and I had to make sure each piece was leveled. This was probably the most tedious part of this project. After I added all the pieces on the wall, I had to spackle all the nail holes, which I used a lot. I had to sand, then use Paintable caulk, wait for it to dry, clean up any debris or anything like that. Then I primed the pieces. And then I went with a small little brush to paint to get all those crevices around the wall and everything like that. And finally, I was able to use a roller for a smooth finish. Purchasing a new vanity just wasn't in the budget, so trying to stay low on cost and still have this upgrade be affordable, I decided to paint the cabinets, and I'm going to use some contact paper on the top and then change the faucets to a matte black finish. I had already removed the doors and cleaned the surface of the cabinet, and I primed it. I don't think I needed to prime. I probably could have skipped that part. So next time I do something like this, I don't think I'll prime depending on the color that I use. And I use the same color that I use for stenciling the wall. I just use a different finish for the vanity, and that finish is a satin finish compared to the eggshell that I use on the wall. I cleaned the doors and sand the area lightly with a 220 grit just for the paint to have something to bond to. I used a paintbrush, and then I went over it with the paint roller again. How do you guys like my DIY little paint station? Let me know down in the comments. I thought about skipping the sealer and the protective coat, but I didn't want to risk anything, having to retouch chips or something like that. So I took that extra step just as a precaution. After the cabinet doors were fully dry, it was finally time for me to drill my holes to add my hardware. And again, this is another first for me, my first time using a drill. You can see how nervous I am in the first time, and then I get more comfortable as time goes on. I forgot to take a picture of the little template that I use. It's simply from Amazon. I'll probably insert a picture or link it down below. Days later, I was working on trying to remove the faucets and the drainage. All new hardware was being placed. I tried to get down there, and husband Michael is my cameraman, and it's such a tight place. I couldn't get much of a good footage, and it's probably a good thing that I didn't, because I forgot to turn off the hot water and almost had a little issue there. So you won't see too much clips of that. There's plenty of videos on YouTube. And I mentioned this before, one of my favorite DIY channel is the DIY Power Couple. So I'll link their videos down below, because they do a really good job at providing like step-by-step instructions to really a lot of different projects around the house. Next, I wanted to install some contact paper on the countertop. The original countertop just wasn't going to go with the new design and look that I was going for the makeover. So I went to Amazon and looked for like a bright white kind of contact paper to use on the countertop. To make things a little easier for me, I decided to work in sections by measuring all the pieces of the countertop and figuring out how much contact paper that I needed to use. And I knew I was going to go back and caulk those areas anyway to give myself a seamless look. I would say the most difficult thing to do was cut around the sink. Eventually, I just made a hole right there, and then I just kept cutting away, using my exact knife to cut those extra pieces. And then eventually I was going to caulk around the sink as well. So that's pretty much what I did. And then I used my smoother to reduce any air bubbles I may have. Last thing I had to do was turn the water back on to make sure everything was installed properly. I don't have much footage of that because, like I mentioned before, I almost had like a plumbing disaster learning how to do this, but I was super excited that I got it done. I had to do my little happy dance, and that's going to be the end of part 3 of this bathroom makeover. Stay tuned for the next one.